Hello. All right. Let's see. Okay. Hi, I'm Becca. Today we are going to be doing a class about prehistoric art. Kind of have the camera set up differently than we've done before. It's up here, so you can see me drawing later. So I'm Becca. I work here at the Delphian school, and we are going to learn about prehistoric art today and kind of what it is and why it's important, and kind of some of the mysteries about prehistoric art. I see there's several of you joining us today, so that's great. Oh, hello. There's lots of people logging in. Hi. Nalia, is that how you say it? Hi, Nalia. Milo, nice to see you. Who else is here today? Okay. Hi. Mackenzie, hi. Lorna, hi. Andrew, Violet, hello, hello. Ethan. Ranbir? Oh, that's a tricky one. Amber, hello. Logan, hello. Hello, hello. Okay. A bunch of you here. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. If you have any questions while we're going along, use the Q&A chat. It looks like several of you have found it already. That's where you can ask me questions, or if you need me to explain something a little bit more. And we're just kind of jump into this. So today I've got rocks. I found a bunch of different rocks that I brought. Hopefully you're able to find some. I've got some brown paper. And my brown paper is just a shopping bag that I cut up so that I can use. So that's going to work fine. If you have construction paper or anything else, that works too. And then I've also got some crayons. I've got lots of browns and kind of some more red browns. I don't know if you can see that. And then I've got black and white crayons as well. So that's going to be the extent of our art supplies today. I wanted to pick some things out that you probably had at home. And so prehistoric art. What is prehistoric art? I really like art and I really like history. So this is a really kind of fun combination for me. So first, let's just talk about what is prehistoric art. Pre is it's 3 letters, P-R-E, and that means comes before. So like you can think of like a preview for a movie. It's something you view before the movie. So we know prehistory, that means before history. And history is anything that is written down. So if you guys can think of some things that you've learned from history, how did you learn it? You can write it in the Q&A if you want to. How did you learn about history? It was probably written in a book. Maybe you read about it on the internet. And history goes back pretty far. There's a lot of stuff that we've learned about the past. And there's a lot of lessons there. And there's a lot of, I guess in history, a lot of people made mistakes and we can learn from their mistakes and not make those mistakes again in the future. So that's kind of why it's fun to study history, so you can find out how we got to be where we are. Amber says her teacher told her about history. Yes, Maya says she learned about history in a textbook. I've learned about history in textbooks too. Let's see. Her grandma, and Shayna says that her grandma owns a library in her house, and that's where she's learned about history. That's awesome. I wish I had a library in my house. I love books. Ranbar says learned about history in school. That's where most of us learned about it. That's pretty good. So good. History is something that's written down. It's something we can read. History has been written down in lots and lots of different languages. And there's really smart people out there who know lots of different languages, and they translate it so that we can all read it and learn about it and understand it. So that's history. So we're learning about prehistoric art though. So art that came before history. And so this is kind of a fun thing because it's art, pictures and paintings and drawings that we found in caves, and they're kind of cool. They're like animals and people, but there's no words with them. So it's kind of like it's maybe like a picture book that doesn't have any words with it. So it's kind of, you can maybe figure out what's happening in the story based on the pictures. But instead of a book, of course, we're talking about big caves in the mountains. And oh, someone said dinosaurs. Dinosaurs is an interesting thing, Isaiah. They actually came before most of the cave art that we know of in existence. And we know this because scientists who have found dinosaur bones and scientists who found these cave paintings in the mountains, they can use lasers and x-rays, and based on how deep it was in the soil whenever they dug it up, they can kind of figure out how old something is, but it's not like exact. So the cave paintings and even dinosaur bones are, they happened around this time period is what scientists say. And it can be as off as like 2,000 years. So it's like somewhere between here and here is when they made this. And that's kind of all we know about it because nobody wrote anything down. And so we don't know. So it's kind of a mystery, but it's kind of fun. And let's see. So we know about prehistory now. We know kind of why it's interesting to study. We know that this art that we're going to be talking about is really old. We don't know exactly how old, but we know it's, 30,000 years before us. So that's pretty old. And now let's talk about art a little bit. So here at Delphian, we have this really cool art course. I actually did it when I was a student here, and it talks about how art is a communication. And I find that's pretty true. And people generally like or don't like art based off of if it communicates and if it means something to them. So, and good art is when there's a good communication and the viewer can learn or understand something or get some kind of feeling from the art. So my daughter, she's about 4, and she's not necessarily an expert artist, but her art gives me lots of joy. So I think that's good art. There's a lot of art in museums that's just really beautiful or that tells stories, and that's generally agreed upon that that's good art. But then there's art out there that's good art, and I don't really like it, but it's just because maybe it doesn't communicate to me, but there's somebody out there that it does communicate to. And so that's kind of all art is. It's pictures and it's some kind of communication to the person who is looking at it. So we know that there's all this art now on cave walls, and we know that it's really old, and we know that they were probably trying to communicate something, but they didn't write anything down, so we don't know what they were communicating. So that's what we know about prehistoric art. We can kind of guess maybe what they were communicating by looking at the pictures and kind of maybe figuring that out, but we don't totally know. I mean, maybe there was like some food cooking kind of equipment left in the caves too that we dug up when we found the pictures. And so maybe we can think, oh, this was their house, and maybe this was a decoration. Or they paint a bunch of pictures of deer and bison, and they think, oh, this is a really big herd we saw that we're excited to go hunt, so we have food. Someone says in here, I think they just drew pictures because they didn't really have any language to do. You know, that's probably really true. Maybe this was a way that they wrote down their history. Maybe they didn't have language. Maybe this is their communication. Maybe there's also thoughts about, you know, there's religion, and it has a big part to do with a lot of people's lives, especially in history. And I mean, and maybe, you know, they drew these pictures as part of a ritual or something that was important to their lives at the time. Or maybe they thought if they drew a picture of a big buffalo on the wall before they went hunting, that it would give them good luck. So that's, you know, kind of what we know about it. And I've got some people asking me about what did they use to draw with. And it's great that you asked me that, because that's what we're going to talk about next. So let's see. Let me open the pictures I wanted to show you. So, oops, let me get to the next one. Okay, so what did they draw pictures with? They most likely used things that they had in nature. They didn't have labs and they couldn't create stuff the way we do now. So they probably went out and found some mountains like these ones. And these mountains, this is actually a mine in France where it's called an ochre mine. And ochre basically is dirt that has really cool colors in it. And if you get dirt like that, you can grind it up really fine and you can mix it with something else to kind of make paint or like a crayon. And so they would use that. I brought something too I wanted to show you. So they would use, this is called a mortar and pestle. So this is a mortar and this is a pestle. And these ones are made out of iron. These ones are mine. But they probably had ones made out of rock. And maybe they found some nice rocks like this that kind of had these indentations in it. And they might have gotten another rock that kind of fits in there, and they might have put the dirt there and ground it up until it was a really, really fine powder. This is kind of what we can use today, but you can really grind up some dirt. But there's some other kind of things that they could have used too, because dirt kind of comes in yellows and browns. So let me go back to my picture. I'll show you. So these are some kind of different colors of dirt that they could have. There's brown, there's yellow, there's kind of this red color, this orangey color. They could also use like eggshells. There was birds, there was eggshells, or another thing that they had a lot of time at this time was bones that you could grind up. And so that could have been what they used for white. And then they probably used black carbon for black. And that's something that if you've ever built a campfire, you probably have seen some of that left over after your fire is done. And if you grind that up and mixed it with some tree sap or plant sap, or you mixed it with eggs, or you mixed it with some animal fat, you could create like a kind of paint. Or they even would use animal fat, which is kind of oily, kind of like crayons are a little bit oily, and they would kind of make crayons. So that's why I chose crayons. Let's see, there's a bunch of Q&A questions coming in right now. So, oops. Let's go and answer some questions before we get too much farther. Let's see, Milo says, have they ever found Homo sapien bones from the dinosaur times? Yes, they have found bones like that, I'm sure. They found all kinds of bones when they do digs. And maybe they drew to tell stories, says Lorna. I agree, that's That's probably one of the things they were doing. And let's see. Lots of, all right. Let's see. Did they ever use blood as a mixture? I don't know. That's kind of interesting, kind of gory maybe a little bit. But the thing about eggs or animal fat or tree sap, it's kind of something that's sticky. So it would kind of stick around for a long time. So it's kind of more permanent maybe than water or something like blood might be. Did they crush flower heads? You know, maybe they did. It's very possible. In the cave drawings that we've seen, we don't usually see a lot of like the purples and blues that might come from flowers. And maybe that's just because they didn't last very long. Maybe they did use those. Again, we don't know. They're really old. Let's see. Okay. So let's go on now. I'm going to show you some pictures of some real cave drawings. So we are going to start with one. This one's called Lions and Bison. And if you look at it, I hope you can see kind of the lion faces and maybe some bison faces. And I want to ask you guys if you can see any other kind of animals in this picture. There's somebody who once said that there was 17 different types of animals in this picture. I'm really curious to see if you can find some other animals. Someone says they see a bull. Yeah, a bear. Yes, I think that's right. I think I see those ones too. What is a bison? A bison is a buffalo, and I actually have a picture of it in a little bit later slide. And it's an animal that used to roam all over the world, and they kind of have been hunted to extinction though. There's not a lot of them left. They have them still in the Midwest though on farms. There was actually a bison farm not too far from where I grew up. Deer, yep, I think you're right. I think I see a deer. I can see variants, I think, but variants of maybe a lion head or something. Yeah. An eagle. Ooh, I don't know that I see the eagle. I'm going to have to look for that now. I like that. A wolf. That's a good one. I think that's right. I think I see a wolf in there. A rhino. Yeah, there is one kind of in the corner that kind of looks like he's got a horn, huh? So this one. So now let's just talk about this painting a little bit. I can't answer all your questions at once, but so this painting is in a cave in France, and it's about 30,000 to 28,000 years old. So, you know, like I said, there can be a lot of gaps in between when they think something is. So this is 2,000 years, somewhere in that 2,000 years. So that's like saying between year 1 and 2020, which is right now, that somewhere in there they painted this. So that's like a big kind of window of time. And this one is a kind of cool painting in the fact that it's so old. And that there are so many animals, but there's also something kind of interesting about it is they kind of use different colors. You can kind of see that there's some white and some shading, and they kind of use the charcoal to make really dark black lines and kind of filled them in with different colors. All right, so now let's go to the next one. So this one is called Wounded Bison. And if you look at it, I want you to see if you can find, there's a buffalo in there that's kind of lying on his side. He looks like maybe they were out hunting and they got him. So he's kind of over on the right hand side and he's kind of laying down. But there's also some other animals in here. I think there's a horse. There's another bison. There's maybe a couple bison that are wounded. And this one is in Spain. And this painting is in a cave that's 56 feet long. So that's about half of a football field. It's a really big painting. And it's 4 to 5 feet from the floor. So it's, you know, the cave is probably pretty tall, maybe a little bit shorter than me. And it's pretty wide. So this is a big painting. It kind of looks small on your screen, but it's like pretty big. And when this cave was found, the scientists actually thought it was fake because it was, they thought the painting was too good. They didn't think this could possibly be real. So that's kind of a fun thing to know about this one. And let's see, I've got one more picture that I wanted to show you. So this is another painting. This one is called Hall of Bulls. And this is really big cave again. And it's 62 feet long. So it's even longer than a half of a football field. And it's, that big cow is almost life size. He's really big. And I've got another picture just in the next one where you can see this is a man. This is a full-grown human being right here. And that's the painting. So you can kind of get an idea of how big this painting is. And if you kind of look at the ceiling, you can see that where they drew these. And it kind of makes me wonder and makes me curious, how did they reach so high into the ceiling? Because even that guy looks a little bit too short to draw it. So, and it's kind of a mystery. So it's kind of fun. Let's see. Do you guys have any ideas of how he might have gotten so tall to draw it? Let's see. The cow is life size. Yes, that bull is gigantic. How did they get it up there? I don't know. It's part of the mystery. A ladder. Okay. Did they know how to make a ladder? They didn't really have furniture. They did not have houses. That's another good mystery. How? Did they roll some big rocks in there to stand on each other's shoulders? Because they were giants. That's a fun idea. Maybe they piled up rocks and climbed onto it. That's a good idea, you know, because if you did smaller rocks, then you can move those around. Maybe the cave wasn't as deep and over time water got in it and made it deeper. That's another good theory. I like that one. Ooh. They climbed the walls, you know, maybe that's it. Maybe they just were really good at climbing. It might get kind of tiring though if you're trying to hold a paintbrush and your paint while you're climbing the walls. Maybe they stood on the ceiling. Yeah, that's creative. I like that one. It's outside the box. Okay, good. So those are some cool paintings. And now I would like to show you, we're going to get started on a project. And so we're going to pretend that we are living several thousand years ago, and we are going to make a painting. So first we're going to go out on a hike, a nature hike, and we're going to look at a bunch of different animals. So here we've got a mama bison. This is a picture of a buffalo for you that were asking earlier, and that's a little baby buffalo. And we've got a picture of a lion, and we've got a picture of an ox. He's kind of a hairy ox. We've got a picture of an owl, and there's a big majestic deer and a big fuzzy bear. So, you know, say we're out on a walk and we see one of these animals, hopefully not too close. I don't think I want to be too close to a lion. And I want you to pick which picture you like best, whatever one you like. And I want you to look at it and really learn as much as you can from it, because we're going to go back to our cave and we're going to draw this. But we're not going to invite the animal to come with us, okay? So you got to really look at it and really look and see, you know, does it have a kind of pointy nose? Does it have ears that stick up? Does it have a tail? Is it a long tail? Is it a short tail? Does it have paws or hooves? Kind of what color is it too? Look at where it's light brown, where it's dark brown. Kind of pay attention to all of that. So we're going to just take a minute and let me know. Let's just really look at this. So we're going to memorize the animal that we want to draw. I think I'm going to do the bison. I think I'm going to draw that one today. Okay. So now let's go back to our cave. And now we're in our cave and we're going to get our wall. And get our wall ready to draw on. And so this is my piece of paper, but there's one problem with it. It's not very cave-like right now because it's really smooth. So in order to make it more cave-like, let's crumple it. More bumpy. Spread it back out. Okay. And now I'm noticing that on a lot of my rocks that there's lots of different colors just on the rock kind of by itself. So I'm going to make this look more like a rock, and I'm going to take a crayon that I took all the paper off of, and I'm just going to rub it all over, make it look more like a rock. Okay. All right. I feel like I got it rubbed all over. I like how that looks now. And now I'm going to get my black crayon, which I'm pretending is charcoal that I got out of a fire. And I am going to draw my animal shape. And you guys can go ahead at your homes and get your crayons and draw along with me. So let's see, I'm going to draw a buffalo. I remember him having kind of a really big head. It's kind of like this big, kind of long head, kind of like that. And he kind of had like this little funny beard I saw that kind of stuck down. Kind of liked that beard. Okay, kind of have a funny shape. And then he kind of had like a hunchback, kind of this big kind of almost camel hump that came up. Well, not really, and then kind of. So, and again, just doing this from our memory. And then we're just going to make a nice black line. And we're going to give him a tail. And let's see, let's give him his legs. I noticed they kind of had like, they were kind of big and fat, and then they kind of turned into like, kind of like sticks. I don't know, kind of like that. So that's how I'm going to do this one. And then I noticed that I could kind of see his other back leg behind him. So I'm going to give him another one. And then this ox, or this buffalo, not an ox, this buffalo, he had a nice full tummy. So he's going to be nice and fat. I'm going to give him some front legs now. And again, those are kind of fluffy, like nice and big. And they kind of turn into sticks. Or hooves. I guess he probably has hooves. It's a buffalo. The hands. And back hooves. Okay. So there's my buffalo. Now I'm going to kind of color him in. So I remember seeing he kind of had some dark fur kind of around his belly and around his legs. And, you know, kind of an interesting thing about cave art, too, is you only have one chance. You don't get an eraser to go and fix it. So it's kind of just going to be whatever it is when you first draw it, and that's okay. Maybe, you know, your first try is really good, or maybe it's, you know, kind of looks funny. It kind of looks more like a cartoon than the actual animal. And that's okay too. Let's see. And then I remember him having maybe like lighter brown fur up here. So I'm gonna kind of color that in with my, it's kind of like an orangey brown crayon. So I'm gonna kind of color that in. there. And then the last thing I kind of want to add to him, I want to add a horn. I noticed he had a horn that I could see. It's kind of curved, kind of a curved horn. Just kind of like that. So there we go. There's my bison. And he's kind of fun. I really love to see your guys' pictures. If you want to send them in, you can take a picture and email them to events@delphian.org, or you can send them to our social media. But I really would love to see some of the art that you guys are making. So there we have it. There's my bison. Now I want to give you guys a few more minutes to finish your pictures. Go ahead and let me know when you're done with your picture. We'll give you a few minutes to finish up. While we're doing that, I'm just gonna add a bit more color. I'm gonna add some, pretending that this is crushed up eggshells that I made into, I could draw with. I'm just gonna color that in. Right. Right. Someone's saying that they're using real charcoal. Wow, that's cool. And someone's saying, all right. Someone's saying that they're done. Okay, good. All right, let's keep going. So now let's go back. Let's go back into nature, back on our nature walk. Let's look at our animals again. And let's kind of see, how do we do? You look at your picture, look at the animal. How'd you do? I think I did all right. Kind of looks like a buffalo. I like that. Hey, I'm gonna name you. I'm gonna be my friend. Okay. Now let's go back into our cave. Let's draw some more buffalo. And you know, maybe that one painting we were looking at called the Hall of Bulls, maybe they were just practicing drawing bulls. Maybe they just really, you know, were trying to get the best way to do that. All right, so now this time I'm going to use a rock, and I am going to draw my buffalo on a rock this time. If you don't have a rock, you can keep using your paper. It's totally fine. And let's get started. So, and I think, you know, one of the important things about art is that you just have to keep practicing. You're not going to be perfect. Someone said, I made a monster. Hey, you know, that's kind of one of the funny things is some of the animals in those pictures, you can't tell if they are a real animal, if that's what animals really looked like, or maybe that artist just, you know, went to draw it and it didn't quite turn out the way they expected it to, but I can like it anyway. Maybe it was still, important thing is whoever they were drawing it for, hopefully it was a communication for that person. And hopefully they understood that communication. Right, so I've got my head here on my buffalo. Draw that beard in again. It's harder to draw on a rock. It is not as smooth as my paper is. Anyone else noticing differences? Drawing on a rock? Someone's saying that they think their picture would give them nightmares. Well, you know, hopefully they didn't draw it in the bedroom of their cave. Maybe they'll have to move caves. Pretty. He's got two little legs. Alright. And he's got a belly. Oh, he doesn't look like he's eating as good as my other buffalo. I kind of made his belly skinny, a little bit skinnier than the other one. That's That's okay. Now I'm going to shade him in a little bit, just like I did my other one. Put some black around the bottom. My buffalo. And I'm going to put some of that same red, orange, brown color at the top. I'm liking how that's looking. I'm going to add some brown this time. Mix in some brown. So this is kind of like some dirt that it's just more dirt colored. Brown with red. Right. So there is my buffalo on a rock. And here's my buffalo on a piece of paper. And they're kind of similar, but they kind of look like two different people drew them too. I don't know. But, you know, now I can save these forever and ever, and way in the future, maybe they'll still be here. And someone will wonder why we drew buffalo on rocks. That'll be fun. Okay. So another thing that I didn't talk about too much yet is another way that they would make paintings is they would use like a sharp rock like this, and they would get it and they would sharpen it really, really good till it was almost like a knife or something. And then they would scrape a painting. They would carve it into the rock. Now, you got to be careful if you're going to try this one at home. But it's another way to do it, and it takes a while. You can kind of see that white line that I carved. So it takes a while, but that's another way that they could make them. And that's one of the ways that some of the paintings lasted so long, is because since they carved it into the rock, it stayed. And they kind of carved the outlines of the animals and then painted it in. And that's another way you can do it. It takes a while. My hand tired. Did they use their fingers for drawing? It's a good question. So they could mix animal fat with their powders to make something that's kind of like a crayon. And it wasn't really shaped like this. It was kind of shaped more like a brick. So that's one way. Or maybe they made paintbrushes. Maybe they used their fingers. Maybe they used sticks. I don't know. That's kind of another one of the mysteries. So let's see. All right. And, you know, it's okay if your animal looks a little bit funky, or it doesn't quite look how the real life one looked. Let's go back. I want to look at these paintings again. And I want you to kind of just see that these animals are not perfect. Let's go back to this one. So this one's kind of my favorite to look at how imperfect. If you look at that rhinoceros that's right there, that rhinoceros doesn't look like any rhinoceros I've ever seen in a zoo. And these bears, they're pretty good, but you know, they don't look like something that I've really seen before in real life. And that's kind of an interesting thing about cave art too. It's because it's how well you remembered it from when you saw it, because I hope you're not inviting a bear into a cave with you to draw it. That'd be a little bit scary. I think if I was in a bear cave, I'd be worried about becoming dinner. Ooh, Mackenzie says hers turned out good. That's great. I would love to see it. Go ahead and email that to us if you'd like. It's events@delphian.org. There's a hippo there. Ooh, I think you're right. Yep. And she said the mother, Amber said the bison and the mother, the baby almost has like 2 hooves and the mom has like 1. Yeah, so when they're walking, sometimes you can't see all of their hooves. And you can kind of see that in all these different pictures. Some, they took different angles of how the animals are walking, and some of them look different than others. Like this big bull looks like he's standing or walking maybe. And some of these other animals don't even have feet. Like if you look at this one, they didn't draw feet for most of them. They mostly just drew their heads. Okay, so if you send, someone's asking about an email, you can just email it to events@delphian.org. So events@delphian.org, and send me those pictures. I would love to see the art you're creating, whether you think it's good or bad. I love all art, and I think it's just fun to create it and make it and practice and get better and better. And that's about it for us today. I'd love to see your art. I hope you had fun learning about prehistoric art. I know I had fun teaching you, and I'm going to be here tomorrow as well, teaching about Egyptian hieroglyphs and coded messages, and that's going to be a little bit of a different class because they actually wrote stuff down, but they used pictures instead of letters. So it shall be fun. I hope to see you tomorrow, and that's all for now. Bye, guys. Let's see.